Matura's Mandala. So when this yellow and red shirt kind of like political what years were we talking about?
It started about 2006, and it went until 2012.
Yes.
And there was the yellow shirts who are nonviolent and who represent the king and who represent the unity of Thailand and who are loyalists and nationalists and who want to keep that Thailand remain Thailand. And then there's the red shirts who were funded by America, literally by the Voice of America, National Endowment for Democracy. I mean, every one of these troublemakers, if you go to their website, you see where they get their money from. Every one of them gets their money from National Endowment for Democracy, from the U.S. Congress, from the Voice of America, from Soros. Every one of these troublemakers is getting paid by the West. It's unbelievable. I mean, if you did that in America, if a Thai went to America and was trying to overthrow America by getting people to do what they did here, that would be terrible. Well, maybe it wouldn't be these days. But that's what they were doing, and it went on for years, and it caused a lot of trouble to everybody because nobody could go shopping. The roads were all blocked. There was violence. And then the red shirts got in power, and whenever you've got progressives, now you got trouble. Because the conservatives are not violent, but the progressives just full-on step one violence, you know. And so they made tons of violence. They burned down buildings. They killed people. Right here in the room I'm sitting, I could hear machine gun fire. I could hear RPGs exploding right outside my window. I mean, it wasn't next to my window, but I could hear it. It wasn't that far away, you know, on many occasions. If you're sitting in your room and you could hear machine gun fire and RPGs exploding and sirens, you know you're in a dangerous situation. And thank you, America, for screwing this country up like that for years, you know.
How many years did it go on till it was kind of like
2006 to 2012? In 2000.
Okay, 6 years.
No, 2006 2012. So okay. And then it went to then there was the army, who are the Royal Thai Army. They have no other business except taking care of their own country. They have no other job outside of their own country, you know. Unlike America, which have no other job other than making trouble everywhere else. And so they took over again, and then of course the media machine, especially the BBC, they're just the scum of the earth. The BBC, they're putting out hogwash 24/7. Oh, the king did this, the king is terrible, and the Thais and the this, and they're making all these lies up that are just dog-faced lies, you know, and and trying to organize more trouble, and it just continued until finally the king passed away in 2014, I think, and so. It's just crazy. And so that during that time, almost everybody had problems because nobody could go. All my shops couldn't get any customers because nobody could go out. Everybody was afraid to go in the traffic, and everybody was afraid of everything because it was really scary for years, you know. And it wasn't homegrown at all. It was absolutely paid for by America. American ambassador was hanging out with these red shirts. In Thailand, the American ambassador was hanging out with the red shirts, you know, physically, openly. In the news, encouraging them to overthrow Thailand, you know. And so I got to the point where I was just hating these Westerners. You know, if there's a Westerner and they have anything like that, then they can just go to hell as far as I'm concerned. I don't want any part of such jerk-offs. And America's full of them now. They're just full of jerk-offs, you know, with this crazy ideas. Atheists, you know.
So, but then it settled down. And so from having about 6 different shops, it just wasn't tenable to kind of.
No, and then after that problem stopped, you know, then the gold price changed 2011. Just at the end of all this trouble, the gold price went for $300 an ounce, which is my base metal. For 20 years, it was $300 an ounce. Overnight, it went to $1,800 an ounce, 6 times increase. 6 times, and it never did go back down again, and it took years for people to get used to even get in the mood to buy any jewelry after that. Nobody knew what was going on.
So what, if you don't mind, I'm very ignorant of these things. So maybe what do you know why it suddenly shot up and I mean, why did it suddenly shoot up on that
GLDA,
at that
all
time?
the price of gold is nothing to do with gold. It's all to do with moving paper around and manipulating truth. And so the GLDA, you could buy a ton of gold from the GLDA, and they'll give you a receipt. That's it. There's no gold, just a receipt. So you know, that's how the gold business works. The people who actually have physical gold, they have to deal with the prices that are set by the people who don't have gold. Just moving paper around, make-believe paper. So there was all this manipulation. I mean, you can't have a price of $300 an ounce go up to $1,800 an ounce, and now it's $2,500. You know, so it went up like 10 times. Right. Can you imagine if the price of oil went up 10 times overnight? What would happen to the world economy? So I started downsizing, and now we just have one little shop. But I've got some people in India that want to get something going over there because that's where the real market is. The real market's in India. Yeah. And everybody in India is buying junk. Nowadays. They're just buying junk. It's just unbelievable, man. Like I say, you can go around and find any Indian who's wearing a Navaratna and look at the stones. You're going to think, how did they get such bad stones? I mean, it's one thing to be a good stone or a medium stone, but a junk. And they're tiny little junk stones, and every one of them. It's like, why do you people do this? Why can't you put a nice little stone in there?
So if in the near future you decided to open a branch or whatever back with India, would you be personally involved, or would you have a team setting up an office, or how would that go about?
I would do it in conjunction with a powerful Indian company, you know, in Mumbai or someplace like that. I'm not going to do it myself.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do business. I don't even like this business. I'm sick of. I'm sick of business. You know, I'd like to be an advisor, and I'm a designer, but I'm not an accountant. I'm not a salesman. I hate all that stuff. You know, and so you got to get people who are into that to do that, and people who are knowledgeable about being advisors to be advisors. But somebody to do both, that's really tough. You know.
Yeah. So,
like when I was in the band, lead singer in the band, I couldn't be the manager. I wouldn't even dream of it, you know. No. And I wouldn't be the accountant, and I wouldn't be the But the people who could be the accountant and could be the manager, they couldn't sing to save their lives, you know. Yeah. So it's not that everybody can do everything.
No. So you're 77 now. You know, you were born in 47, and we've gone through this, and you know this. These different chapters in your life, you know, the misunderstood, and then that takes you up to about your 20th, 21st, and then you've got the chapter with Bon Maharaj in Vrindavan and Mathura, and then from October 73 we have you going the kind of Nepalese, you know, the change of direction, and
October 73 I rejoined Prabhupada. And the end of 73, yes. I went to Nepal.
Yeah.
And that's when I heard from Shyam Sundar and came back to India, you know, to get help with the rubies.
So then you have that whole chapter, and then eventually at the end of the 70s, you end up going back to America, clear your name, you become a legal person, you are exonerated, you know, because if there's amnesty, and you did all the things. You had a very good lawyer through the help of your friends. And then you got, you know, you then went to college and university, became an expert. And it was quite very interesting, the fact that, you know, you were going around the world and you were advising people who wanted to invest. I never really thought about that.
That's because you never had any money.
Yeah.
People that invest usually have money, you know.
Yeah. So what was it? Yeah, so you went from kind of being totally renounced to having been quite well off. And so that must also be in your astrology and in your chart and thing. How do you see this period? I suppose what I want you to say is like, I asked it to you yesterday. Now, in terms of your interest now with gems and stuff like that, and you have you keep quite a strict, regulated spiritual life. Maybe you can just tell people.
Hold on 1 second, because I got to strictly go to. No, I worship Shaligram Shila that Prabhupada told me to worship, that I still worship. See, right
Okay.
here in his house, and I have and I do that puja every day, and I also chant my 16 rounds, and so that's what I do, and I stay away from all the idiots, and there's a whole bunch of them, you know.
Yeah. And what's amazing is since I've connected with you through my friend Chanarari, because he's come there, and even though I've known about you for years, um, it's incredible to know that you're all of this amazing story that's brought you to this point, and the fact that the training that you got from Bon Maharaj, with Bon Maharaj, let's put it that way, because he even arranged for you to have a Sanskrit teacher and a thing. That
No, he didn't
all
do that.
led to your...
I got a Sanskrit dictionary, and I started going to the library there, and I started learning. And I taught
okay.
myself. He didn't teach me. I taught myself the alphabet.
Oh, I
but
see.
he had a
Yes,
bunch of
yes.
professors in his
Yeah.
university who were all experts, and I became friends with them.
Okay. Yes. So due to his influence, let's put it that way, you were in a kind of very good, a perfect training situation.
The old
to be
normal,
trained,
the old
you know.
normal, the mother faith,
Yeah.
the mother, not the
Yeah.
bastard child, the mother faith, you know.
So during that process, learning Sanskrit and because you've recited some beautiful mantras, you have an incredibly good memory for learning, remembering verses, shlokas, and terminology. Um, People ask me, because I've been writing my book about my life, and they say, "So, Mathura, what do you want to say to people? What's your kind of final message or something like that?" Do you have for the people who are watching this now, because there's going to be people who will be very interested, people who only know you through the misunderstood, and even the people who've interviewed you already about the misunderstood. Lots of this story that you've told me, they haven't heard. There's the other people that you've sent me. There's people who've written film scripts and books. They've gone into the detail, but those things haven't really been published to the wide world yet. So in terms of the people, most people don't know about the details of this other journey that you've had in your life. So now, from being the frontman of a rock group and going through austerities and learning about gemologies and
Meeting
settling in
Prabhupada,
Thailand, seeing
losing the
world,
rock band,
yes.
being put into a situation where I was a fugitive, and meeting Prabhupada and becoming initiated by him and getting his order to go to Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna, which is what I did until I found
Yes.
out, 7 years later that I was a traitor,
Yeah. But then when you went back to Prabhupada, that was very sweet, this reconnection that you had in Mayapur, and this the way that you got involved with the Upadeshamrita, which is a
the
book
funny
that's
thing with
been-
Prabhupada was that because I knew Bengali and Vaishnavata, the Vaishnava etiquette from the Gaudiya Math, and he knew it too, or rather he knew that I knew it. And so he dealt with me differently than everybody else. He really did, He talked to me in Bengali.
Yeah,
I didn't talk to him in Bengali unless he talked to me in Bengali because I didn't want to show off. But he did talk to me in Bengali all the time, And then we would have long discussions. Like he'd ask me, what did you have learned in Vrindavan? And I'd tell about Nitya Leela and all these things. And we just go on and on talking about these. Then start working on that book and talking about every verse and and I would suggest some verses like, how about this sloka from the commentary, put that verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sheva Sadhaka Rupena, Sindhu Rupena, those kind of verses, and he'd put them in there, or he would say, you put them in. And after it was all done, then I gave him, he had the manuscript, and he gave me the manuscript and told me to go to, remember I told you when I finished with Prabhupada and he was going to go to England, and I had to leave the country, but he told me first to go to Bombay. And so I got on a plane to Bombay with the manuscripts. And so I stayed with Tamal Krishna in this apartment. I mean, it was terrible. After living in the Gaudiya Math, to live in this crash pads with all these hippies, And but he was really nice, Tamal Krishna, and I also stayed with who's the guy who became the guru? Harikesh. Is that his name? Harikesh. So I gave the manuscript to Harikesh and told him about it and said, can you edit it and then send it to the BBC to publish it? Because Prabhupada told me to get it published. So I gave it to him to edit it and send it to the BBC. So then after that I left, and I went to, then the adventure started, but I never saw the book again until years later.
Mm-hmm. In my reality, that book, a kind of when we went to India for the first, I did in '76, and we were coming, we were going to visit the places because Upadeshamrita, it's not just, it's also a lot about Radhakund and the nature of how beautiful it is and its spiritual level of spirituality. That was the book that we were kind of reading. It was available in Vrindavan. It was everybody had it at that time. It was the to go for book with, touching on the esoteric nature of Braj and Vaishnavism. I suppose because we're kind of getting near now to the end of this epic interview. I'd like you to kind of like maybe say your final kind of summing up of your story, because what was fascinating, and you've said it a few times, was when you had that very brief meeting with Prabhupada and Stinton Beach in August '67, where you met him for the first time and got initiation. And you asked him what to do, and he just told you, repeat what he told you about the Maha Mantra.
He told me he knows my situation. He heard from Mukunda already. He knew my situation. He knew I was a fugitive. He knew I didn't have a passport or anything. So he told me. He said, go to Vrindavan. You should go to Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. Join me in Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. Little did I know that there was nothing to join, because he was just running a little room in the Radha Damodar temple. He didn't have an ashram. He didn't have a center. He didn't have disciples. He didn't have anything, and it all came later, which is great. But I mean, at the time, I it's not like I was going there joining ISKCON, because there was no ISKCON,
No, but you mentioned before about it was the fact that Prabhupada, just chant Hare Krishna and everything will come.
Well, he told me, go to Vrindavan. What you should do for your problem is go to Vrindavan, join me in Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. I said, well, I don't have a passport, I don't have any money, I'm a fugitive. He said, this mantra is so powerful, as powerful as God himself. It is identical. And if you chant this mantra, every single thing you're talking about will just magically fall into place and absolutely guaranteed.
Right.
And that's the way it's been all my life. That I just, whenever I really have an impossible situation, if I chant Hare Krishna, it gets worked out. And I'm sure most devotees find that, You and all devotees find that. And so that was what Prabhupada told me, and that's what I still do to this day. As far as the last words are concerned, for me, it's not a question of I'm Prabhupada's disciple and I'm not this disciple. I mean, I had so many gurus, primarily Krishnadas Babaji, Ashram Maharaj, Bhakti Shuddha Ashram Maharaj, Krishnananda Ban Maharaj, Madhavananda Maharaj, and then Gopesh Prabhu was and then a lot of Prabhupada's godbrothers like that I was friends with, like Narayan Maharaj, who I became really good friends with.
Yeah.
And these people were all Paka, and everybody was in the same page, and everybody lived the same life. It was only ISKCON that everything was different. And so, so this whole thing about you're a traitor against him if you do go with him, and I was like, you people are just, I don't know what dimension you're coming from, but this is so crazy and unfortunate. And they still think like that. Most of them still think like. And when I went back to America in 79, went to LA, and all these Rameshwar and all these guys walking around, I just could see these guys they're not even beginners. They're hardly even beginners, and they're walking around like they're gurus, sitting on a gigantic, gaudy seat, surrounded by a bunch of morons that just believe in this stuff. And I'm like, God, this is what happened to me. How did I get out of the perfect situation into this craziness, And then I just stopped going. I stopped dealing with them, And I moved away. I couldn't take
many
it.
of us.
I can't take these people, this craziness.
Well, most of us, the majority of God Brothers, we left that organization. Many went and followed Sridhar Maharaj, and the kind of issues that you're talking about, traitor, this and that came up with them as well, and also people with Narayan.
Well, it's not an organization. It's a religion. It's a religion it's a religion of devotion to Krishna through Guru, in a way that when you leave your life at the end of your life, antakalecha, mamayva smaran muktva kalevaram, you think of Krishna, the last thing, because that's the thing you're most attached to throughout your life. And so that's what the goal of Krishna consciousness is to develop an attachment so that at the time of your death, the thing you're most attached to would be Krishna, and that will be the thing you think of last.
Yes.
And the name of Krishna will come on your lips, and and who cares about what organization you belong to, you know?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you're on your deathbed and you're going to be telling Krishna you're in this organization and deserve something. It's just ridiculous, you know? And so that's so American to have that separatist view, you know? And they still have it, you know? The separatists and the Gaudiya Mata are the dogs, and we ISKCON people are the great. And I'm like, you people are coming from your hippie lives to come uplift the Hinduism in India? Simply because on the strength that you're so great because Prabhupada's your guru, and he's so great because you're so great, or something like that. I mean, it just became ridiculous that they're going to uplift the world. There's going to be 10,000 years golden age, and they're telling me all this globalist political nonsense that had nothing to do with the spiritual world, nothing to do with Krishna Lila, you know. And they're still talking about that stuff, you know. Like I haven't been to Mayapur since '94, but I don't have any desire whatsoever. If I go to Mayapur, I want to go to Yogpit. You know, I want to go to I don't want to go to all this circus, you know, with the carnival and wherever it is, this Ferris wheel. You know, if they had a Ferris wheel, maybe I'd go. But
Yeah, well, your sentiments may not be exactly the same as yours, but there's many share those similar feelings. That the Krishna movement has gone way bigger anyway than the institution, the hierarchy, the ecclesiastical body of it. It has its role and it's morphing and changing as all things do. But what is quite healthy is that now we're seeing second and third generation, and many of those younger people who are my friends, many of them spent years in India with Narayan Maharaj, different Gaudiya Maths. They have deep training in the culture. Some very good quality kirtans are coming out, and it's not restricted to any institution. It's taken on a whole new form now of the seeds that Prabhupada went internationally. Bhaktisiddhanta planted the seeds in India, then he had his disciples. Prabhupada, I use the word this whole kind of international thing, it was a massive social experiment. It hadn't been done before, and we all kind of willingly partook of it and there's so many complications and so many books and stories about it. But the amazing thing of what you just said is that the real purpose of it all is to develop this love for Krishna, nothing to do with institutions, so that at the time of death we can think of Krishna and go to be with Krishna. That's the essence of the teachings. And thank you for sharing that, because that's really what we want everyone to hear and know. And I can't wait to meet you and come to Thailand.
Please.
And actually spend some quality
you come in India.
time.
You're going to come to India to go to that health place?
Not now at this time. I'm going to be here maybe next year. I want to concentrate on my projects, these podcasts, and my own book, Between Worlds, which is being edited at the moment, because we've all got we all want to share like the body of knowledge and experience that you've had in your incredible life. Just by telling the story, people will learn a lot about. I thought that whole experience in the American embassy when you were going on the Narayan Kavacha, I thought that was fantastic.
Narayan Maharaj was, in my opinion, like when Prabhupada passed away, and I heard the story that Narayan Maharaj wrote the mantra on his chest and showed them how to do the samadhi, because they didn't know anything. I mean, we're talking morons. I mean, even the leaders of ISKCON were just complete idiots when it came to Gaudiya philosophy, Gaudiya culture, how to do this, how to do that. They couldn't read anything. They didn't know anything, but they were so arrogant that they were so learned. And they were a joke, a total joke. And so he came and showed them how to do the samadhi, and he did it all for them. And that should have been him next, They should have said, okay, you're Prabhupada's closest friend. You're the one who involved. You're the Bhaktivedanta. He wasn't equal to Prabhupada because he was kind of like God's nephew of Prabhupada, but he was also equally qualified, and exactly the same philosophy. And but then these people didn't want to lose power, so they kicked him out and made him even. It made it to the point where you couldn't even Narayan Maharaj couldn't go to an ISKCON temple. I was like, this is
I know.
you could get a Muslim covered in blood. He could go in there, you know. But Narayan Maharaj, Prabhupada's dearest friend, is not allowed in there because these idiots don't even know what's right, you know. And so I was like, God, if he's not there, how am I supposed to go, you know?
But the great thing about reality is that Krishna didn't, that was, that Narayan Maharaj came and had, I mean, where I'm sitting here today, at the house where Jiva, who's doing the tech, his mother Julie took initiation from Narayan Maharaj. They had no choice within
But there was
ISKCON.
so much
Narayan
offense
Maharaj
against him. The amount of offenses
Absolutely.
against Narayan Maharaj, he was 100% innocent guy. And his other god brothers, and even Ban Maharaj, I mean, the amount of offensiveness against these people was, even karmis couldn't fathom it, you know? Even karmis would go, man, that's pretty gnarly. These people are really rough, you know? The way they talk about people.
Despite all of these crazy things that have gone on in this social experiment that we've all partaken of, the amazing thing is that we still, you're chanting your rounds, you're worshipping Shalagram Shini, you're completely, the Krishna consciousness is part of you. All of the BS, the masses of BS, it's just like water off a duck's back ultimately, because, we have, the Krishna is the main focus, and it's worked. That meeting with Prabhupada and that journey, look, you're 77, you've chanted Hare Krishna, and you're still Krishna conscious, so it's all quite magical.
I don't know about Krishna conscious, but I still chant Hare Krishna.
Well, I think you are. Well, look, on this note, lovely positive note, I'm going to say, could you, maybe to finalize off again, could you repeat those beautiful prayers that you wrote in Sanskrit as the final? That would be a wonderful, way to end.
Okay. Om Svagur Vupadesha Mahagamani Shirasavidvito Harinamadani Viharami Jane Shwamitan Vitaran Baba Parakaring Taraning Katayan Vrishabhanu Sutan Vita Krishna Manum Pajapan Safalan Janainu Janu Madhu Gopavane Kripayahi Guru Fala Sanshaya Krid Bhajanakyataru Guru Deva Varo Mama Bhakti Yuta Nigamanna Vido Higira Sastuta Kali Dharma Iyang Harinama Rating Padikirtanata Safala Bhavati Iti Tyad Bhajanad Gatavan Pramadam Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I'm sure also that when eventually this is released, this epic series, I think it's going to be about an 8 or 10 part half-hour episodes. I'm sure there will be lots of reactions and people questioning. So let's say, I've got a feeling there could be a follow-up afterwards, if you're, to as a kind of a response to of how people have responded to you.
Absolutely.
And okay, on that note, we will say Jai Prabhupada.
Chanarari's coming back at the end of the month. I'm going to have dinner with him when he comes back. And what's the other guy, the guy with the white hair?
Nishtray Gunya.
Did you see the picture of us together?
Nishtray Gunya. Yeah, I've seen the picture, yeah.
So hopefully he'll be back by then.
It's due to... So some of the characters that you've mentioned, the main ones, like it's due really Karanda, who you met on the beach, and was this link. He is the link that really kind of linked Chanarari to you and the other chaps, Bhaktadas and Guru Kripa in Bangkok. Right. And so we are all part of this amazing family, and I'm very close with Nishtray Gunya, and it's great that we're all Guru Bhais, and it's an honor for you to be your Guru Bhai.
Yeah, you too, all of us. But I mean, we have to all realize we can't be like I'm a god brother and you're a disciple of another guru of the same religion. You're like an enemy. What? And the way they treated the Gaudiya Math, it was just, oh God, I'm still just shocked.
Anyway, But the good thing is that this mode is fading, and within the Gaudiya Math, you've got people like Bodhayan Maharaj, who are really kind of quite a unifying factor. I actually went to a Bengali event in the East End of London, which had ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, two different Gaudiya Maths, and Goswamis, from Vrindavan, So there is a kind of broadening of temperament going on. So that's hopeful.
Matura's Mandala.